You just take some from here. So now we can smell it and taste it.
Yeah,
it has like a garlicky smell.
Strong and natural.
And people dry this out and like turn it into a powder and use it for seasoning and like soups and whatever you want to make with it, really.
You can eat it, right?
Yeah, you can eat it. Eat it. Oh, that's right. It's kind of garlicky.
Spring is always an exciting time of year because it represents rebirth and renewal. Having grown up in Brooklyn, New York, I learned to take what little access I had to plants and greenery for granted, as just part of a scenic backdrop. It wasn't until much later in life, when volunteering on a farm in Michigan, that I started to grasp the wonder and bounty that plants have to offer. Since my farming days, I've had a little experience in growing my own food, but when it came to foraging, safely and sustainably, I knew next to nothing. So I invited a couple of friends out to Aman Park to learn some of the basics. Aman Park is one of my favorite parks in Grand Rapids. The 331-acre preserve is part of the Old Growth Forest Network, where you can find ancient, old-growth, or mature native forests that are protected from logging and are open to the public.
Janan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Mishike Quain Dijnikaz, Mishiken Dodam, Waganakseno Dawa, Anishinaabe Quain Dao. My English name is Janan Kodo, and I am a citizen of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians. I am also Ojibwe and Potawatomi, and I refer to myself as being multi-tribal because on my father's side, his family is from Puerto Rico, and we're a Creole people mixed with indigenous Taino as well.
Janan is an indigenous educator. She spent most of her career working to build, improve, and sustain culturally relevant education systems for Native American students.
My name is Erica Thompson, but everybody calls me Kid. I'm second generation in the state of Michigan, but my family is from the South. We have roots in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I don't have direct connection to the tribes that I'm connected to, but just overall just connected to this landscape, as I feel like it belongs to all of us in some way.
Kid is a lifelong resident of Grand Rapids. They're a community leader and former poet laureate for the city, and create space for everyone to express themselves through language-based art.
Yeah, when I'm out here, I'm just like, being on the trail is something that is like relatively newer to me, like in the last 10 years. So just like, I'm basically a 10-year-old out here.
I mean, it's kind of cold today, but spring is here. What kinds of things can you forage in this park, or this time of year, really?
Well, I think I spot some leeks right here. Well, these guys.
What are those?
They're a food. I'm actually gonna put down some of my tobacco so that we can take some.
Many Native American tribes offer tobacco as a gift or sign of respect to their creator, another person, being, or place when asking for help or guidance.
Just like you would with people, you introduce yourself and you like provide context of like what you're doing, and you ask permission. You're just polite, you know. It's about having a good relationship.
Yeah, I have a relationship with just like extending an offering, being in communion, and I'm not much of a taker, you know, as a person who is probably too scared to forage, but definitely the verbal offering, the verbal communion and connection is something that culturally is a part of my own personal practice as an orator, as a poet. And so, yeah, it's beautiful to know that those practices are shared beyond different cultures and ways that we make approach. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
100%. So now we can smell it and taste it. I'll just take some from here. So
Yeah,
it has like a garlicky
Definitely
smell.
strong and natural.
And people dry this out and like turn it into a powder and use it for seasoning.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
soups and whatever you want to make with it,
You
really.
can eat it, right? 'Cause I
Yeah,
just put it in
you
my
can
mouth.
eat it. Yeah, you can eat it. And it's like kind of garlicky, oniony.
It is. It has good aroma too.
Thanks for showing us.
Yeah.
So Jen, have you always loved doing outdoorsy things like camping? I mean, we met backpacking, but I don't know if you've always been doing stuff like that.
I grew up with a mom who is a big outdoors woman and a big fisherwoman, and I come from a family of fishing people, so it's in our blood. But there came a period of time, I would say in my late tweens, early teens, because of where I was in my development as a young person, really wanted to separate myself from, all the things that my mom wanted me to do and was imposing on me. And, I was also really becoming concerned with how I looked and smelled and felt. And of course, all I wanted to do was get my nails done and look pretty and smell good, and I did not want to be outside. I started to understand myself in a more mature way and understand that my identity as a Native woman is so closely connected to the land and how special and important that is, because the bones of my ancestors and my ancestors' DNA is in this land. That desire to be outside and be with the land and with the water and the place that my ancestors have always been really changed. And I wanted that. I want it now.
I can relate to that for sure. What about you, Erica?
My nature was very people forward before, and over the years it shifted into a space where I was able to connect with things around me outside of being afraid of them. I found myself afraid of dirt and bugs and birds, and being hyper vigilant and having the setup in your life that things are out to get you, just like being a Black person in the city of Grand Rapids in Michigan in the US, and everybody always saying things are scary, and you just hearing that as a small person, it kept me away from exploring the fullness of nature until I got a little bit older and I started to see myself kind of poetically in all these things that I thought I was once afraid of. And so my relationship with nature it went from people to me going on trails and hikes and traveling and experiencing the fullness of the world and really breathing it in, to now exploring the nature of my own body and the rhythm of my own body, and how knowing myself internally helps me to be more in honor of the nature that I explore.
So are those all ramps in there?
Here, I can't tell, but let's go look.
All right.
I have a good feeling about this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Jackpot.
Jackpot. And I love these white flowers too, the trillium that come up this time of year. Beautiful.
Another sign of spring.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna maybe follow your lead, Janan. What's some best practice when it comes to foraging ramps and just foraging in general?
For foraging ramps specifically, I brought my scissors so that I could cut just the leaves. Some people pull them up by the roots, but we want to make sure that we're not doing that so that they can come back. So yeah, you guys want to get some ramps?
Yeah.
So how are you cooking with this, or what are you using it for?
I will take the leaves and dry them out, dehydrate them, and then crush them into a powder and use them for seasoning.
Okay, cool.
Cool. All right, well, let's grab some.
While it's important to forage safely and to be sure you're taking the correct plants, it's also important to use regenerative practices and to make sure that there's enough to go around for everyone.
So are you just taking the individual, like, leaves there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm just here as a witness, you know. I can't think of anything that I'll use it for, so I don't want to take what I won't be using. I look forward to looking it up and seeing all the medicinal properties and ways in which it can be used. I love plant power.
There's power in my plants.
This is a nice little nook, snack nook. I will say that I kind of wish that foraging wasn't this thing that I just had to learn, like, on a random hike. And I know that there's so many things that have played into us not having the relationship with nature enough to just gather the food that grows directly from the ground. I know that, like, for me and my own food journey, I'm so much more comfortable with a product than I am with, like, real food. It makes me grieve a little bit, and, like, more in the fact that I'm so disconnected from the places where my food comes from. Just like watching you all do it, it felt so beautiful. It felt like that's what we're supposed to do. But I also felt like this level of, like, respect for it, where I just kind of want to leave things as they are when I deserve to have a piece of it. I just don't know it yet in my heart. So I look forward to growing into that.
It's interesting that you say that because, like I said, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, and it wasn't until I moved to Michigan and that I realized that people still hunt. Because in Brooklyn, you just, like, go to the corner store.
And then when I think about my neighborhood, dogs used to be out more. Like, we had, like, a lot of, like, stray dogs, stray cats. And so just, like, thinking about getting some dandelions from outside where everyone was just allowing their dogs and their cats to kind of just, like, naturally relieve themselves everywhere, I still kind of think about that whenever I'm just like, oh, some dandelion that could be, like, peed on by 10 dogs already today.
So we had a garden outside of the American Indian Center, and we would often take kids into the garden and just have them do things like observe and give them pieces of paper to take field notes and observe a single plant over time, start to understand relationships in nature and how we're a part of that.
Thank you for doing that work in communities where those little kids will be able to, like, trickle that knowledge and that wisdom down to people so they don't end up in situations like I'm in, where I just, like, have to continue to unlearn, relearn, accept, and also feel worthy enough to take what I need.
I think it's awesome that you have the awareness that you need to unlearn.
There's so much more I want to learn about foraging safely and responsibly. But today helped me appreciate that plants are more than just a part of a landscape. When used responsibly, they are food and nourishment. They are medicine. Plants can be teachers and ways for some people to connect to their heritage. I'm excited for all of the foraging expeditions to come, but for now, it's time to go home and prepare these ramps.